these people are saying that it is very justice should be very pragmatic. It should help you. For example, they say that there are numerous examples in the society. Say, for example, there are many corrupt people, but they are leading good life. Honest people are facing all the problems in life. Hence, what they say is justice is not this thing because corrupt people are enjoying, honest people are suffering. As a result, what they say, it is wise and it is very pragmatic to be unjust, right? Wiser and pragmatic. తెలివితేటలు ఏంటి అంటే గుడ్ లైఫ్ నివసించడానికి ఏదైతే మనకి హెల్ప్ అవుతుందో ఆ విధంగా ఫాలో అవ్వండి. హెన్స్ ఇఫ్ ఇట్ ఈస్ యు ఆర్ థింకింగ్ అన్జస్ట్ దెన్ దట్ ఈస్ కంప్లీట్లీ ఫైన్. So it is wiser and pragmatic to be unjust. Why pragmatic? It is practically going to result in good life. Hence this says this. So what is the thing that they say is, first you earn money, whether that is corruption or anything, try to earn money by unfair means. By unfair means, then this money is going to be this money is making you to lead a comfortable life. How you can lead a comfortable life? You donate certain part of this to charity, right? You lose that guilt feeling, and the rest of the money you enjoy for your good life. So this is a wise thing and this is a pragmatic thing, and hence they say that it is wiser and pragmatic to be unjust. So they insist Socrates to prove one thing. Now Socrates tell us, I am saying that it is better to be unjust than just. Then how can you say me it is better to be just than unjust? Right? This is what the question is. Now Socrates has this challenging task. They say that there are three types of virtues, glucon and adimantus: intrinsic virtue, instrumental virtue, both 1 and 2, 1 plus 2. Intrinsic virtue means a virtue in itself, value in itself is known as instrumental. Intrinsic means valuable in themselves. We value them for their own sake. Intrinsic means it will have its own value. What do I mean by intrinsic value? We value them for its own sake. For example, if you are seeing an old man who is wise, right? You will be giving him value. Why you will be giving him value? Intrinsically, it comes because he is old and he is wise. So he himself has some value because of that wisdom. Hence, that is called intrinsic value. Intrinsic value means a value in itself. We have to value them for their own sake. In economy, might have studied intrinsic value and face value, right? Intrinsic value. Gold coins have intrinsic value. What do you mean by intrinsic value? The gold itself have this rupees 5 is face value. The metal is gold coin. So that is intrinsic value. Gold itself has intrinsic value, which means valuable in themselves are called intrinsic. There are second things, instrumental values. Second thing is instrumental values. What is instrumental value? It means they are valuable for not themselves, not valuable for their own sake, not valuable for themselves, but they are valuable because of the consequences that they create. For example, money has instrumental value, it doesn't have intrinsic value, right? Your 2000 rupee note doesn't have any intrinsic value, it is just a piece of paper. But because of the guarantee that is signed by RBI governor, you will have that value. Now, it has instrumental value. What is that instrumental value? The consequential value. What is that consequence? If you have more money, you can enjoy. So, instrumental means something which is valuable not for themselves but for the consequences that they create. Now, the third one is a type of both intrinsic plus instrumental. Something will be both. You will be having intrinsic value, you will be having instrumental value, right? Now, what Glaucon says is justice is not incentric. Justice is not incentric, not intrinsic. That is what they say. There is no need to be absolute. There is no point of being absolute justice, but look for the consequences that your justice is going to create. They say that justice has instrumental value, which means justice is important for the consequences it results into and not because in absolute sense. So one, why we have to follow justice? They say that because of the consequences, not because of the value in itself. Now what is this concept actually? Look how he says that no need to be absolute, but it is a consequence. How it is consequence? In order to explain this, that justice is not an intrinsic value, Glaucon suggests this thing. Instrumental value or instrumental value of justice. What is this? He says that justice as an instrument for the weak. It works for the interests of the weak. How? He says that he is one of the earliest social contractualists who says that society is formed based on the contract between the weak and the strong. The weak will be suffering in the hands of the strong. As a result, they will come together, they will make a contract, and they give the power to the weak, strong to make their theory. Hence, this person is known as this person, particularly this man, Glaucon, is particularly known as the one of the pioneers of social contractualist theory. Now, what he says is state is a product of social contract. Those who are weak has come together to form the state. In the contract, the weak has requested the strong to protect them. The weak has requested the strong to protect them. Yes, now the strong agrees to it. In exchange for the strong, in exchange for this, the strong will give guarantee to protect them. The weak should follow the rules made by the strong. This is what they say. Thus, adherence to law is justice. Now, what they are saying, instrumental theory of justice. What is this instrumental theory? It has some consequences. So, through social contract, they explain this theory. What is that social contract? People have, the weak has come to the strong to protect them, and the strong has agreed to protect them. However, he will protect them by his laws. Hence, it is in the interest of the public to follow the law. And they say that adherence to law is justice. Weak must follow the law for their protection. This is what he says. He also says weak, W-E-A-K, weak. The weak need to be just, the powerful need not be just. So by this logic, what he is saying, this is these fellows who has to be just, because for them there is instrumental value, not for this fellow. So the strong might not be just, the powerful need not be just. Thus, justice is an instrumental value. Why it is an instrumental value? Because it is an instrumental value for the so-called the poor class people or the weak people. They can protect their life. That is the instrument that it is having. Now the question is, why powerful need not be just, as Glucan have suggested. They says that there is no instrumental value for the strong in this concept. Why? The strong is anyhow strong. Whether you have justice or not, he will survive. It is the weak who has to survive. As a result, it is for the weak which has instrumental value here, not for the strong. Hence, he says that strong may not follow justice, need not follow justice, but the weak has to follow justice for their own interest. That is what they say. For example, if you look at the world, developed countries, they do not require international court of justice, nor do they follow international court of justice, right? Because they can solve their own problems. They can solve their own problems, right? For example, China won't accept international court of justice principles. Why? They think that it is not required for us. But when it comes to the poor countries, weak countries, you require justice. This is clearly visible. Of course, this appears to be true. What Glaucon has said appears to be true when you look into this context, right? Now he explains this with an analogy. In order to understand this, he says that let us consider this analogy. So, what is the analogy that this person is propounding? In order to prove his point, what is his point? His point is it is the weak who has to follow justice, strong need not follow justice, and no one will be just if they are powerful. That is what he is trying to say. If you are strong, if you are powerful, you will not be justice at all, or you will not be just at all. Hence, it pays more to be powerful than to be just. What they say is justice is nothing but being powerful. So, if you are becoming powerful, it is more better than having justice. Now, how he proves this point? He proves this point with some theory called story of Guy's ring. Now, what is this Guy's ring in English? So, the spelling is Gyges. You pronounce it as Jesus, right? Jesus. Now, what is this Jesus story? Now, this is one ring where if you wear it, if you are wearing it, you will become invisible. No one knows you have it, and no one can see you. మీరు కనిపించరిక రింగ్ వేసుకుంటే you can do whatever you want. You are totally free to act in a way you desire without suffering social or legal judgment. No one will stop you from doing anything. No one will be knowing that you are doing right. So you will be in your own state of freedom to commit whatever you want. So it is a magical ring, right? So whosoever wears it, they become invisible, right? Now, at this situation, say for example, if you are wearing it, Glucan suggests that if a person has the power to become invisible, if he is wearing it, he will do whatever benefits him, right? ఇంకా మనం కనిపించుకోకుండా ఏమైనా చేస్తుంటాం. He will not have the fear of punishment. Why? Because your act is not being seen. Hence, he will not follow the law. Thus, for the Glucan, people will follow the law only out of fear. Traffic దగ్గర పోలీస్ లేకపోతే వెంటనే దాటుతాం. That is called ring of vices, right? So what they say is, if there is no fear of punishment, they will not follow the law. So what he is saying is, justice is nothing but following the law, and that law is only for the weak people, not for the powerful people. So he is saying that justice is not having any comprehensive value that you are saying, but it is having instrumental value. But Socrates said justice is intrinsic value, which means a value in itself. It doesn't have instrumentality. You have to value justice because it is intrinsic. Now, Socrates has this challenge to prove that how it is. Why is justice? What is justice if not merely interest of the powerful? They are asking Socrates now. What is justice? If you are saying that it is not in the interest of the powerful, then what is the interest of justice? Now show us that just life is intrinsically valuable and not just instrumentally valuable. They have said this with example. Now has this challenge. What is this challenge? The challenge is Socrates has to prove that justice is intrinsically value in itself. So there are two concepts for Socrates now. Are two challenges for Socrates now. One thing is he has to prove he has to prove justice is intrinsic in itself, and he has to prove it is better to be just rather than to be unjust. Right? Why? ప్రాక్టికల్గా ఏమనిపిస్తుంది, అన్జస్ట్గా ఉండడమే మంచిదిరా, జస్ట్గా ఉంటే ప్రాబ్లమ్స్ వస్తాయి అనేసి ఉండడం వల్ల చాలామంది అన్జస్ట్కి వెళ్ళిపోతున్నారు. నౌ Socrates has to prove this point. It is better to be just rather than to be unjust, and justice is having intrinsic value. He has to prove this both points, which means he has to prove that justice is comprehensive in its idea. In order to prove this, justice has went to the so-called an analogy of city-states. He has taken an analogy of city-states. Now, what is this analogy of city-states? Now, he tries to prove his point by a theory of city soul analogy. He takes an analogy and tries to prove this point, that is called justice is intrinsic in itself. It is better to be just rather than unjust. City soul analogy. Now, what is this city soul analogy? In order to understand this, the objective of Socrates is he proposed justice is an idea. As per Socrates, he says that justice should be an idea. So he propounded the idea of justice. What is this idea of justice? The idea of justice is perfectionness of justice. What exactly is perfect justice? He says this through his idea of justice, which means it is flawlessness. Flawlessness. It will not have contradictions. Which means he wanted to achieve the so-called synthesis, which will be perfect. Ultimately, you have to have this. And this was also given by Plato. Plato aims to give theory of justice which is perfect and flawless. Flawless and perfect theory of justice. Now, what he says, idea, already we have seen Plato's theory of idea. Idea is the perfection, and this is flawless. And this perfection belongs to the world of God. Hence, in order to prove their point, they have given one concept that is called idea of justice, ideas. They have given the concept of ideas? They have given the concept of ideas because Idea is perfect. Whatever you are seeing is not perfect, but idea is perfect. No, because idea belongs to the world of God. Now, remember the cave analogy that I said, right? Now, what they say is, idea do not belong to this world. Idea does not belong to this world. Rather, idea is belonging to the world of God, which means world of God is universal and it is transcendental. It is present everywhere, omnipotent, universal, and transcendental. Which means universal means it is present everywhere. Transcendental means which is relevant all the times. Now, what they try to prove is they have said, or Glucon has said that people will value justice because of law. Because of law, you are valuing justice. So they want to prove that this is wrong concept, rather this is natural. So they will try to prove justice, state, and law is natural. How they try to prove this is by relating it to human soul. Now remember the thing that I said, human soul, the elements in the human soul. To understand God's idea of justice, we have to understand soul, right? And which soul? A just soul. Now, what they said is, first point, what they say is, you are saying that individual is prior to the state, but what they say is, state is individual writ large. State is individual writ large. States does not come from rocks or oak tree. Rather, they are in the minds of the people. From the minds of the people, state is coming. It means states are reflections of the people, right? Reflections of people. So state, yes, you are saying that you have to create an artificial state, and they are saying that yes, state is not coming out of blue, not from oak tree or not from a rock. Rather, it is coming from the minds of the people. People are thinking that I have to form the state. Hence, it is the reflection of the people, just like the shadow that people are seeing on the walls of the cave. According to Plato, state is individual writ large. Now, according to Plato, states do not come from oak tree or rock. Rather, they are here in the mind of the people. It means states are reflections of the people. If people are just, if people are just, state becomes just. ఎందుకంటే రాష్ట్రము అనేది ప్రజల చేత ఊహించుకోబడినటువంటి చిత్రం మాత్రమే. ఆ చిత్రం బాగా ఉండాలంటే మీ ఊహ బాగా ఉండాలి. Hence what he says is, if people are just, because it is in the minds of the people, it is a reflection of the people. Hence he says that if the state has to be just, people has to be just. Thus, we cannot have a just state if people are corrupt. Thus, people has to be just, only then state will become just. No, still we do not know what is justice, right? Plato suggested that state is individual writ large. It means state is bigger form of individual. It means individual is letter smaller form of state. State is individual writ large అంటే ఒక ఇండివిజువల్లో ఎటువంటి క్యారెక్టరిస్టిక్స్ ఉంటాయో అదే స్టేట్లో ఉంటాయి. ఒక ఇండివిజువల్ని చూస్తే స్టేట్ని చూసినట్టు ఉంటుంది, ఒక స్టేట్ని చూస్తే చిన్న సైజ్ ఇండివిజువల్ని చూసినట్టు ఉంటుంది. దట్ ఈస్ వాట్ దే మీన్ టు సే. వాట్ ఈస్ దిస్? ఐ విల్ ఎక్స్ప్లెయిన్. Why Plato is bringing this concept, state is individual writ large? First thing, let me tell you about that. We are speaking about justice, but Plato entered into this domain called individual writ large, into the concept of state. Right? Just why he has given this argument is he wants to explain his theory of justice. According to Plato, it is easier to understand in the big letters. That is, if you want to understand something, you can understand in a very big comparison to the smaller comparison. Thus, according to Plato, we should understand what is justice at the level of state. Later, we should understand what is justice at the level of individual, because it is easier to understand bigger things rather than smaller things. If you have seen Bahubali movie, right, there will be Rana's image, small image and big image. So when we see bigger image, then we'll understand what are the loopholes in it, right? So what they say is, in order to understand justice, understand it from the perspective of state first, then you come to the so-called people, and then you'll understand what exactly is justice, right? This is what these people have suggested. Now, how they prove their point, tomorrow I'll continue that. How exactly they are trying to prove their point. State is individual writ large, and what is that ideal state as per these people. So today what I have discussed is this 22 slides. Have a look at it. Again, I am saying it appears that this is difficult, but once you understand this, the rest of the topics are going to be easy. I said these things today. Conventional theory of justice, radical theory of justice, pragmatic theory of justice, universal theory of justice. So you have to remember these theories, because in justice again you'll study the same thing. At that point of time, I am going to ask you to refer here. So please be alert and try to focus on what exactly is trying to happen. ఇక డిబేట్ అంతా ఏంటి, జస్టిస్ అంటే ఏంది అనే దానిపైన డిబేట్ జరుగుతూ ఉంది. Right? Now they have to prove this. How they prove, we'll see tomorrow. This is what we discussed today. And what is the challenge? You understood what is the challenge. Now how Socrates and Plato answers that challenge is the answer that we should have in order to understand this theory of justice. Tomorrow I'll continue this. If you have any questions, you can ask me. Otherwise, I'll wind it up here. Yeah, I'm coming. Right, guys. Then we'll meet tomorrow. Have a nice day.